Moco as we know it is dead? Wow, that sounds so strong. But in a lot of ways, it's going to be dead. They're completely changing so much about Moco. I have a lot of thoughts, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read through the news post. This is a super off the cuff, unedited video. I just woke up, read the news, felt like I needed to make a video on this because it's big news for Moco. A lot of it good. A lot of it, I just know some people are going to be upset about. So let's go over the news. I'll talk about it as we do that. So this is a news post that just released as I'm releasing this video right here from Joao. He says, hi, everyone. So things have been calm, too calm. Yeah, we haven't had an update in a super long time, despite the fact that things have been pretty unbalanced and there's been a lot of complaints, which is what we're talking about today. So I guess it's time to shake things up. Is this our most important announcement since launch? Definitely. Expect big news, big changes, a setback. Unavoidable, unfortunately. But most importantly, we want to hear from you. We're building this game with your thoughts in mind, showing things as they truly are, okay? No BS, no sugarcoating, just raw facts fueled by a lot of Moco love and passion for monster hunting. So a little bit of a brief history here before diving into the big news. Let's start off with a quick historical context, especially for our newer hunters. After years of development, including a short paid public beta in 2023, we finally launched Moco globally on March 18th, 2025. Globally is kind of like a little bit of a, yeah, it's a loose term here. Really what they did was they released it globally, but it's in early access. I mean, we're essentially beta testing the game, honestly. And the thing is with beta test is that you can expect a lot of big things to change, at least with Supercell games, because if things don't hit the mark with their numbers and they don't have people playing and they get a lot of feedback, then they make big changes, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. We actually saw this a lot with Brawl Stars, and some of the early beta players for Brawl Stars quit the game because they liked old Brawl Stars and they never came back. I suspect that these changes we're about to see are going to be similar with Moco, where there will be people who will quit and say, I'm never coming back to Moco, and they won't. But then Moco will move on, it will develop, it will get bigger, and then it will launch with a huge global success, and people will love it, and the people that quit will just miss out. That's probably what will happen here. While it wasn't perfect, reception was amazing. Great game, engaging, atmospheric, chef's kiss, can't stop playing, the list goes on. But then we noticed something. Those who fell in love at first were either dropping after a few weeks or burning through all the content super fast and struggling to find reasons to keep playing. On June 16th, we dropped Chapter 2, including a bunch of new maps, monsters, gear, a few not so well received changes. Monsters are too strong. And adjustment to Chapter 1's progression. We were eager to see how this would land, especially with new players. And while it improved in some areas, it didn't quite hit the mark. At least not our very ambitious mark, which is building a game that is played for many years and remembered forever. Until we get there, here's a quick refresher on how we are operating. Promote the game as aggressively as we can just to bring as many players as possible? No. That's not their goal here. They want to prioritize continuous development guided by our experiences and feedback. And that brings us to today, which is getting feedback. Over the past few months, we've been gathering feedback from lots of sources. Daily Reddit drives, scrolling through Discord's Moco feedback forum, social media content, creator feedback. I gave them a lot of feedback, and you guys didn't even see all of the feedback. I didn't even make videos about a majority of it. They gathered feedback from playtests, chats with current players, old players, Supercell colleagues from other games, friends, family, our kids' friends, and as many other types of players as possible. It is impossible to reply or thank each one of you individually, but we will never get tired of appreciating your love and thoughtful feedback. Really, thank you, heart. But from all of this feedback, there were a lot of big pain points that were pretty consistent across the board. Gameplay feels repetitive. Progression doesn't feel meaningful. Losing progress at the end of the season sucks. The game isn't social enough. Poor matchmaking and too many bots. A lack of updates and a lack of content. Wait a second, so they are listening to our feedback? That was a list of pretty much all of my complaints. There are definitely other areas that need love as well, but it seems like these are the big ones affecting the most players, and therefore they will be our top priority the next few months. And these are massive problems. I mean, I'm not even playing the game right now because I've completed the content that is currently available, and there's no reason for me to continue playing until they release more content. If I'm not playing Moco, and I'm hardcore, then you guys aren't either. It's a problem. Let's face it, our current system isn't quite working. Launching Chapter 3 would add more content, which is always exciting. Social features could definitely improve your shared gameplay experience to an extent. Matchmaking could improve with a massive marketing rampage, which we're avoiding for now. But only up to a point. In fact, the more chapters we add, the more players get spread across maps, which means poorer matchmaking. So yes, there are definitely improvements to be made, but the question remains, is the current chapter plus elite hunter season combo the way to go, or do we need to make bigger, more meaningful changes? And I'm really glad that they are considering just removing the current chapter and elite hunter season. It's such a cool idea, but there's so many issues with it. Like the fact that the most hardcore players like me are no longer playing the game because we've completed all the content. We're just waiting for something else to come out. But that's just like one issue. There's so many other issues. Resetting progression just feels bad. When they reset it from chapter 1 to chapter 2, everybody was like, it's weird. You like lose all the power that you got in the previous season. I get it. I get why they wanted to go with it. I was super hesitant the whole time. I just felt like I wanted to at least give it a good, honest try. And I'm glad that they're getting rid of it. So what's the way to go then? Well, I know you want all the juicy stuff. We don't have the whole juice yet, still blending it into the perfect vitamin-packed consistency. But we do have a fruity direction we're trying out. So here is the plan for now. Goodbye chapters, hello seasons. We're moving from chapter-based to season-based, replacing permanent content with rotating events and frequent refresh. So daily, weekly, and bi-weekly changes. And then they have an early alpha UI sneak peek of what that could kind of look like. So we got this picture right here. This looks like they are brawlifying Moco, right? It's funny, their special event is called the Showdown. Like clearly this is a different game mode. So let's break this down from what we can see right here, okay? So first of all, you've got this upcoming special showdown thing right here. It's not an actual showdown. It's just probably going to be some sort of like Ladybug Queen boss fight or something like that opens in the next 5 hours and 24 minutes and will be available for a certain period of time. Then you also have world farming. So it looks like this is the only world that will be available for farming, at least for a certain period of time. And while it is open, you have these 5 jobs that you need to complete to get these chests or whatever. All of this is subject to change. This is just like a mock-up of what it could look like, right? So all of the players would then be farming this world. There wouldn't be other worlds that people would be farming. It would be this world, and all players would be funneled into there. So you're no longer having issues with bots. You're going to be finding plenty of other people to play with. You and your friends are both going to want to be farming the same stuff rather than splitting into different worlds. So there's a reason for you to always play with the people that you want to. Then you have over here, you have like a rift. So this rift, Overworld's Chamber, and that's the only rift that is currently available, which means that everybody who wants to play a rift is going to be playing this rift. There's going to be good matchmaking, or much better than before. And if you want to play with your friends, both you and your friends are probably likely going to want to go to this rift. Now, the question is like, what if I've already completed that world or this rift or that special event and stuff like that? Well, we don't actually know, but my guess is that they're going to add different quests and stuff like that to make it so that you will want to farm them probably every day. Kind of think of it like how you want to try and get your daily 8 wins in Brawl Stars and you have quests to complete certain objectives throughout all the different game modes. This would probably be very similar to it, where everybody is funneled into the same content and you try and complete your quests and stuff like that. They've got a season right here, season 2, lasting another 12 days or so. And then there's a season finale right here, Broken Pact, some sort of a big ending to the current storyline that's happening at the moment. Again, all of this is just speculation based off of one little image, but let's continue reading. So how would seasons help to solve our main issue? Well, the feedback here is that gameplay is too repetitive. And the answer to this is that their goal is to add fresh content and quests, both daily and weekly, all supporting a narrative or a story that leads to an epic season ending. Seasons would probably last 1 to 2 months, while events could run anywhere from 24 hours to maybe even a couple of weeks. So by adding more content and more varied content, they're looking to make gameplay more dynamic, more engaging. Another piece of feedback, that loss of progress at the season end sucks. Yes, answer, we are looking to remove most, if not all, progress reset. Your level will be permanent, tied to a mastery track and something else, but more on that a little bit later. Boom! What? Completely removing power progression resets? So all of the progress that you make at any time would go towards your progress. This sounds interesting. If they can do it the right way, I'm all on board for this. One of my absolute favorite aspects of an MMORPG that I love to play is old school RuneScape, and that is that it doesn't matter when you play, all of your progression counts. It doesn't get reset. It doesn't get crazily power crept on. If you grind for a piece of really good epic gear, then that gear is going to maintain value for the next 10 plus years. If they can somehow harness that ability for all progression to be permanent in this new system, I'm so on board. I love that. It has to feel good. We don't know if it will feel good. They still have to make it, but I like this. I like hearing this, even though I do have some concerns. Another piece of feedback, game isn't social enough and there's poor matchmaking. And the thing is that with rotating content, players naturally will focus on what's new and fresh, which means that matchmaking is going to be funneled into fewer events rather than spread across tons of maps. This should also improve the social side of the game since everyone is playing the same events. Another big win, though, it comes at a big loss. And that loss is the fact that, like, I love big MMORPGs where you can go and explore anywhere. I love that. I think it's so cool. And not being able to go and just explore all of these worlds and stuff like that, it does feel like that is going to be a loss. I will miss that. I understand why they're doing this. I'm not saying that I would prefer if they kept the old system. I just think it's important for people to recognize that this will come at a loss, especially because eventually we would have a very large global audience with moco. And the hope is that we would always have a lot of players in all of the different maps and worlds and stuff like that. This will be massive, at least for Rifts, though. Rifts had massive matchmaking issues, and it was a big problem. They needed to address that. And I'm excited for this to change that aspect for Rifts. I'm not excited about the change that it will have for worlds. My hope is that there will be more than just a couple of worlds, because I really like being able to go and explore different worlds. It's just really cool. It's like, it makes the game feel really big. Anyway, let's move on. Lack of updates / lack of content. The answer to this is expect fresh content every week. So by running seasonal events, we can deliver more maps with more variety. And instead of being limited to a fixed chapter structure, depending on new monsters and worlds, to launch a full chapter has slowed our update pace more than we would like. We'll of course bring you new monsters and worlds as often as possible, but with this approach, we can use our content with new twists, keeping the experience fresh and adapting to your feedback. Okay, I have a lot of other concerns right here. I totally get it that, you know, right now we are having a lack of updates, a lack of new content. I don't know how this is actually going to solve this problem, because what it sounds to me like is they're just going to be taking all of their existing content and then just rotating it. And because not all of it is available at one time, it's just going to suddenly feel like it's new and fresh and exciting because, you know, it's only been a couple of weeks since you last played it. I don't buy that. I genuinely don't buy that. I think that, like, I don't know. I do understand their problem, though. Their problem is that they can't develop content fast enough to keep up with how quickly we can get through the content. That is a problem. And if that's the case, this does kind of solve that, though not as perfectly as I would like it to. I'm sure that they have a much bigger picture of how this would actually work than I do. I'm only seeing this for the first time today, literally like 20 minutes before I started filming this video for you guys. My hope is that it will be better than I'm currently imagining it to be, but there's another big reason why I don't like this. The issue that I have with this is expressing fresh content every week by running season events. And, okay, wow. I have so many thoughts on this, and I'm trying to think of a really fast and easy, succinct way to say this. I mentioned that I love old school RuneScape. There's a big difference between old school RuneScape and RuneScape, okay? I know that doesn't sound like a big difference, but they have had two completely different histories. And I love old school RuneScape. I don't love RuneScape. And one of the reasons why I don't like RuneScape is there's a big amount of FOMO in the game. Old school RuneScape doesn't have any FOMO. You can play at any time of the day. It doesn't matter if they don't have double XP weekends. They don't have things to boost your progression if you play a certain period of time. Just like 1 hour yesterday is going to be just as good as an hour spent on the game next year. The complete opposite of that is true in RuneScape, where you have rotating XP events every hour. You have a certain amount of dailies that you have to do every single day. You have special events that are rotating all the time, and if you miss out on them, then you miss out on progression. I understand the idea that FOMO in a game, or fear of missing out in a game, is really motivating to keep players engaged with the game, but it also just ends up feeling like a chore to play instead of playing because you want to play. And that's the thing I love about old school RuneScape. When I log in, I'm genuinely excited to play because I get to do the content that I love to do. Whereas in RuneScape, regular RuneScape, not old school RuneScape. You have to log in. You have to complete your dailies. It's a list of chores you have to complete every single day if you want to progress as optimally as possible. And an hour spent on the weekend is twice as valuable as an hour spent during the week. And, you get the idea. This whole like rotating thing for a game like Moco, which I know is not RuneScape, but the idea is that this is an MMORPG essentially, right? Even if they don't want to use that, that's what this is, or an action RPG or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's what the game is. These special events rotating and stuff like this, I just am a little worried about the fear of missing out on special events. I don't want Moco to ever feel like a list of chores that you have to complete every day. I want it to be exciting when you log in. You just get to play and progress and have fun. Anyway, that was a big rant on that. I just have a lot of thoughts and we can move on. Sorry. So buy gear kits. Hello classes. Whoa, big change here. Wow. We're moving from separate gear, the ability to swap between weapons, gadgets, passives, and rings, to classes. So how would this work? Each class would be a complete predefined build. That means we don't get to change or choose abilities. It is defined beforehand by the developers, and that is how you play that build, at least currently, according to the way that they are describing this. Expect different and distinguishable features and unique gameplay mechanics. For example, an electrician build that plays heavily with electricity against monsters. Some of these classes are easier to use, others a bit harder, but also more versatile and with a higher skill ceiling. Each weapon and gadget and passive is unique to its class, forming a complete set. This means that we can be more creative with them and make them more synergistic? I don't know. This will allow you for more varied gameplay with bigger skill expression. For example, conjure an electric chain and then use your electrified monster slugger to unleash a wave of chain damage. And each class would have its own permanent progress with cosmetic rewards, badges, and more. Collect classes as you play, and more classes equals more gameplay dynamics. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm gonna start this off by actually throwing up some gameplay of some of the classes that they actually have showed here. And the gameplay honestly kind of sold it for me just a little bit. It's just like, oh, this gameplay looks so cool. But there is something really exciting and freeing about the developers being able to make classes and abilities for those classes that are crazy unique and interesting without having to worry about how every single individual piece of gear might eventually break the game with some sort of combination that the developers just have no foresight to be able to see. Not because they aren't smart and educated, it's just the fact that like, when you add a new piece of gear that can interact with 7 other different pieces of gear, there are just so many impossible to think of like combinations and stuff like that. It's crazy. This would allow them to do some very interesting things that I think could be really good for the game. I'm not saying that I love this idea 100%. I'm super on board all the way. I'm just saying I could see a world where this is really excellent. And there's some really cool abilities right here. You'll even notice that the Squid Blades user is actually able to go invisible in this gameplay. He goes invisible and they're able to allow for that because it is used with a specific class in mind and a specific build in mind that is balanced around that invisibility, as opposed to being paired with any number of different things. Now, the biggest and most unfortunate thing about this is that we do lose out on the ability to create our own builds. And I love complex builds. It is one of my favorite things about Moco as it is right now. I love being able to take all these different gear pieces and put them together and try and configure them in a way that actually really works and that is fun and exciting and new. I love that. Theory crafting with gear builds is so fun for a player like me. On the flip side, and this is so unfortunate, and I hate that I'm even mentioning this, and that is that it is not for everybody. Building gear outfits is not something that people like to do. There's a lot of players in the world that would rather just be given something and for them to just go and learn how to use it, rather than for them to feel like they have to theory craft every single aspect about it. And for those players, this is very likely going to be better because they can just grab something and go, as opposed to having to try and figure it all out. I think this is especially important for like more casual players and stuff like that. And the reason why I hate even mentioning this is that I hate sacrificing cool and interesting, engaging mechanics for the hardcore players in order to appeal to the masses of the people who are casual or don't even care about the game that they're playing as much as the hardcores who really do. You know what I mean? So there's just so many different ways that I could see Moco taking this and doing a good job. but there's also so many ways that I could see them taking this and doing a bad job. And that is what I'm most worried about. They say that this will allow for more varied gameplay with bigger skill expression. If that is the case, then I'm on board. Bigger skill expression? I'm hesitant to believe it because I really like the skill expression of creating good builds, but I do understand how this could be, and if they can do that, I'm cool. Let's take a look at this mastery track that they essentially have. This is a very early version of what a class reward track could look like, and the electrician is just a code name. It's not final. This is essentially the monster slugger ability. But the idea here is that, you do various things like distance thunderbolted, and that will give you XP, or you get this badge for passing a certain XP, or, then you unlock this dojo and you complete the dojo for the electrician. It's specifically a dojo just for the electrician. And that's actually a really cool idea. A number of enemies electrocuted. There's all these things and you get to progress through it, and it does various things. And there is another aspect about this that I like, and that is that as you progress through the game, then you collect classes. And then you are able to swap back and forth between classes. I like that because this is very different from a game like World of Warcraft, for example, where you build a character, you choose that character and you play that class, and you only are able to play that class. And if you want to play a different class, then you have to build another character. It doesn't seem like they're going that route. It seems like you'll progress, you'll unlock a class, and as you progress with that class, then you'll be able to unlock more classes and play those classes and unlock things for your individual classes and be able to swap back and forth depending on the rift and whatnot. So what issue does this address? So the feedback is that the gameplay is repetitive. And that is very true. Right now, there's a certain number of gadgets, gears, and abilities that is very good and useful. And like 80% of the stuff is not being used because it's just not useful in compared to like what you're using. I have been using the same weapon for overworld farming for the past like 2 months or whatever. Like as soon as I figured out what worked for me, I just went with that, and I'm not changing anything up, and these classes could encourage that. So the answer is that while classes may reduce build personalization, we'd counter that that with lots of different classes, each with its own unique play style, classes will also create better team synergies and dynamics. Think of like a DPS/healer/tank, but deeper combination. Then this should also improve both your social experience by combining the best classes with teammates. In other words, because they have predetermined classes that they have made that are meant to synergize with other classes in specific ways, then you're able to experience a lot more team synergies rather than the same people using the same abilities for every single rift in the game. Everybody just equip R&B mixtape and we'll just all stand close to each other and pop the same splash items, and then everybody will be healed because we're doing, you get the idea, right? It's very abusable, at least the current system is, which I both like the abusability of it and I like the variety, but anyway, I understand where they're coming from. I'm not saying I'm like 100% on board with it. I'm gonna have to wait and see how it actually looks in game, but you get the idea. Other piece of feedback is that progress feels meaningless. The answer to this is that this is still a work in progress and we still have much to share about the future, so bear with us. For now, the biggest shift is moving from mostly temporary to fully permanent progression. The idea here is you collect classes, and that's just going to be your first step, as each one will have its own progress track. So you collect the class, you complete those progress tracks for each individual class for cool cosmetic rewards, and of course, to satisfy that completionist itch. And on top of that, all classes will also contribute to your main progress, your permanent player level, and its own progression track. So the gameplay loop is that you download the game, you play the first class. As you play the first class and you complete XP marks or whatever in that mastery track, then that increases your permanent player level, and that in turn, I guess, helps you unlock other classes, which then help you unlock other classes and increase your permanent player level, and you keep on progressing. And there's a reason for you to play every single individual class, because that's what they are, so that you can continue to progress. There's a reason for you to play a lot of different types of builds and stuff like that. And ideally, they would all be balanced in a way to be useful in a lot of different types of content. Again, this has me both concerned and excited. So it's really going to depend on what it looks like when we eventually get our hands on it. Here is that hunter career track, right? Where you have, you progress, you get XP, and this then unlocks various aspects and whatnot and such. So classes will help make the game easier to get into. that is undeniably true, meaning no need to stress about the best build, which is very good for casual players. Instead, the strategy would shift towards questions like, well, what's the best class for this rift? Or which classes work well together? Or how can I make the best use of this class and gadget synergies to optimize my gameplay? Wait a second, what? How can I make the best use of my class weapon and gadget synergies? I did not catch this the first time that I read this. I don't know if this means that there will be specific gadgets that are available in each class, or if you have specific classes and that gadgets are still freely able to be used. I don't believe that that's what makes the most sense. I don't think, because I said that that's not what they're wanting to do. So what I'm understanding by reading this is that you'll have a class weapon, and that class weapon will have a list of gadgets that you can use. Can you unlock multiple gadgets and still be able to swap things in and out? I don't know. Maybe that's something that they do. My hope is that there is some form of skill expression when it comes to actual class builds to some extent. But anyway, we know this is a big change. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but we're excited to hear your thoughts on this one. The next big thing, goodbye power progression. Oh, whoa. Okay. So no more power levels? To keep it short and simple, we will remove power progression. Why? So yeah, they're removing power levels. So the game is not social enough. This is a big piece of feedback, and their answer to this is removing power progression means that everyone can play together regardless of level. This removes a huge blocker for social play, and this is very true. Moco is better than a lot of MMOs, at least in the past, when it comes to like, hey, you invite a friend and then you can go and farm with them. It's better than like a game like World of Warcraft, where it's completely useless for you to go and farm with your friends that are lower level. It was still like a little bit useful, but then it still got to the point where people finished grinding out all the projects for all of the lower level worlds, and then it was essentially useless for them to go and play with their friends. So you can't invite somebody new and play with them and it be useful for both of you equally. That's a problem with old Moco, and it sounds like this new Moco, they're wanting to address that and essentially allow everybody at all skill levels or all power levels to be able to play together and progress equally. And that's cool, if it is done right. Another piece of feedback is that gameplay is repetitive, and without power progression, you're free to explore classes and maps and dojos and rifts without being underpowered. If this is true and the way that they do it is good, then I like that. Another piece of feedback is there's a lack of content, and their answer to this is all content will be available at all times. There's no need to reach a higher level to try out that new rift, which it can be really good. The only skill matters, which opens the door to more meaningful leaderboards. Okay, that sounds good. If they truly do make it like this, where skill is ultimately what decides whether or not people are actually good, and it doesn't necessarily mean that power level is involved, that sounds good. I like that. I mean, honestly, I wish that Brawl Stars would do this. Just remove power progression and just give, once you unlock a brawler, everything is unlocked for that brawler, and you can just max them out, and all of a sudden skill is the only thing that matters. I like this idea. I'm not 100% sold on it because I do love a satisfying progression experience in games. I love that a lot. If a game just makes me feel like I'm constantly getting more and more powerful, I'm like, yes. Yeah, then I like that. But this could open the game to being meaningful for really hardcore players who have a lot of skill and are able to express that better than everybody else. And it's not an answer of them having more power than everybody else. It's just the fact that they're better. Very important, all of these classes, seasons, and no power progression. This is still very early and very subject to change. We're sharing these thoughts with you because they want to hear our feedback. So it's going to be very vital in what is to come. So all of this is subject to change. None of it is final. And a very big important part of this, or piece of this, is you guys sharing your feedback. Do it similar to what I've done in this video. Express your concerns, talk about the things that you're worried about, what you want them to focus on, and they may not apply things the exact way that each of one of us want them to be applied, but they've proven that they are able to see the trends and hear our feedback. And if they see pieces of feedback that really resonate with them and that the community seems to really care about, then they will address that. Okay, wait. Is there a catch here? Are you adding pay to win or pay to progress? No. 100% cosmetic only monetization. We're super bullish on this. Oh, I love hearing that so much. It doesn't even sound like you can buy classes. Monetization through cosmetics only. Thank you. Thank you. So what happens to chapter 3? So we've talked about changes. Now let's talk about the setback. As you probably guessed, Adios, Chapter 3, rest in peace. As we mentioned earlier, releasing Chapter 3 without meaningful changes wouldn't really improve your experience beyond more content and smaller improvements. This also means big changes would equal longer time to develop. So the harsh news is no big updates for the next months, not likely in 2025. Ooh, that hurts. Wow. What? Yeah, sorry about that. Well, why not just keep updating the game and release new chapters? Well, this would be ideal, but also a two-edged sword. The more resources or people that we allocate to releasing chapters, the more time it will take to revamp the game. Our priority is to release a better and more engaging version of the game as soon as possible. One that actually solves the big problems the community has been pointing out over the last few months. It wasn't an easy decision, as it means keeping the game quite stale for a few months. Like super stale. Honestly, I don't take this term lightly. The game feels very dead. It really, really does. You guys know this. I'm not even playing the game and I love moco. And it's gonna get even more stale. It's gonna get more and more dead. It's just gonna feel empty. Like, what is even the point of playing for anyone that reaches Elite Hunter level 100? Yeah, well, the good news is that there's plenty of time for you guys to do it. I don't know if it will actually be worth your time or not, because we don't know how the Elite modules are going to work afterwards. We don't even know if they will be a thing. They probably will not. So what about my progress? Is it going to transition to a new system? So to ensure a fresh start with the new progress system, everyone will begin at the same level after the revamp. We are, of course, very mindful of the time you've invested into the game. Your current progress will be taken into account, though not necessarily in a straight one-to-one way. We are already preparing a transition plan based off of your previous progress in both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. This compensation pack will be entirely cosmetic driven. So either Mo Gold or cosmetics, ensuring an even start for everyone once the new meta arrives. We will let you know all the details as soon as it is ready. Honestly, that really sucks to hear. As a dedicated player to the game that has invested a lot of time into it, that sucks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It just feels a little bit like a slap in the face to any hardcore players. That's just the way that it feels. I really understand why moco is doing this. I get it. They're gonna want to try and get as much feedback on the new system as possible. And the best way for them to get that feedback is from the hardcore players who have played both systems. I just am not surprised, but also it sucks. So if you guys feel upset about this, I really get it. And, maybe it's just fine. Honestly, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe even for me as a hardcore player, it'll be good to be like, okay, I haven't played moco for 5 months now. Let's get into this and see how it feels. Maybe it will be good and exciting. Maybe we'll just all love it. I don't know. It could be great. I guess my point here is that if you guys are feeling frustrated with this, I understand you. I want you to know that you are heard. And I am sharing this obviously with the developers as well, and they understand. The unfortunate, sad truth is that in order for them to reach the goal of making this game as great as it possibly can be, to be a game that people will play for years, they have to do some drastic changes. And the current player base is not enough. It just isn't. We don't have enough people that are actively, dedicatedly playing the game right now to justify a big launch at the moment. So they're going to have to reset some things, and that sucks, but it's also understandable. Okay, but what about my cosmetics, okay? All of your cosmetics will carry over, both free and paid, so you can keep hunting monsters with style after the revamp. Same with the collector level. So cosmetics and collector level will not be changing. So then what's next? Well, a lack of game updates doesn't mean we're going away. You can still expect to hear from us frequently, perhaps showcasing new classes here and there. We'll try our best to reach out to you at least once a month, even if it's just a one-liner saying, hey, we're still going strong, as we will be. Oh, and a small update is coming in October with a few fixes and a bunch of balance changes, mostly buffs. I like that because we need that. Monsters are too strong right now. Next step is an AMA, and ask me anything. If you got questions for us, no matter how uncomfortable, drop them in the comments below, as long as they're relevant to moco, not provocative or insulting. We're happy to answer the most upvoted ones. We'll gather the couple of the team members and sit down for a couple of video casts. That's what's cool in 2025, right? This podcast will be shot next week to be posted onto our YouTube channel in early October. We're going to be answering the most votes or most upvoted questions on Reddit, Twitter, Discord. Let's talk about weekly events. So since most of our team will be focusing on the revamp, weekly events are likely to scale down with some repeated past events. That being said, it looks like I, Joao, will be learning how to design them soon. So maybe we can come up with something special together. Let's see. This will be my hold my energy drink, I'll design an event kind of moment. So keep expectations nice and low. We'll also be scaling down premium cosmetics, mostly featuring color variations in the shop or shard hunts. Weekly events won't have a premium pass during the revamp period, which makes sense because they understand people aren't playing at the moment. And one final note, we know the wait is going to suck, but we'll do everything we can to make sure it's worth it. Thank you for sticking with us or taking a break and coming back later. We'll talk soon. Hugs and ladybugs, moco team, heart. Wow, we have talked about so much today, and I think that I've done a pretty good job at showing my feedback throughout the video, but there's a couple things that I want to say. First of all, I really like the moco team. I know a lot of them personally. I've had experience working with them on a lot of different things, not just through moco. A lot of them actually used to work on Brawl Stars, and I do trust them. I know that this is going to be a very obnoxious next few months while we are just waiting. Genuinely, I was hoping for a full launch by the end of this year, but that's not happening clearly. And it sounds like it's not going to be happening early next year either, because they're probably going to want to make this change, release it, see how everybody feels about it, and then looking at the numbers and stuff like that before they release it. So big thing is that I really trust the developer team. If anybody can pull this off the right way, it really is them. I haven't loved everything that they have done with moco, but I have understood a lot of the things, and they have done a good job at making big changes when they need to. This is another really big set of changes. I fully expect that there are going to be some players that will not like these changes, will quit the game, and will move on to other games that they want to play. And to you guys, I totally respect that. Genuinely, I do. The next version of moco just may not be your game. It may not even be my game. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. But I hope that we can at least give the developer some time to make these changes, because we understand that moco, as it is right now, isn't cutting it. And there are some big aspects about the game that I don't love. I don't love the progression reset with the Elite Hunter program. I've been super hesitant about it from the very, very beginning. And even as I've played it, I haven't loved it. The idea of resetting progress just sucks. No way that you can get around it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nobody likes getting their progression reset. It's dumb. It's like, well, what's the point of even playing if my progress is going to get reset? We don't want that. We want permanent progression to count. We want the time that we invest into the game to matter, and we want to be rewarded for that time. In the end, I think that will be the case. The sad truth is that for anybody who has really invested a lot of time into the game up until this point, a lot of our progression is going to be reset again. At least the good news is that we knew that it would be reset. We just didn't know it'd be hard to reset. But yeah, I don't know. Lots to think about. I want to know what you guys think about this video. Sorry for the non-scripted format of this video. I just had a lot of thoughts. I wanted to get it out there and didn't have a whole lot of time to film it, but I wanted to release this out as soon as I could. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Either way, make sure you subscribe for more moco news, because I will be going over the moco news. Maybe not as immediately as we get it, just once there's a substantial big enough change for me to actually feel like it's worth talking about. And of course, share your feedback on these changes in the comment section below. If there are some recurring themes that I see, I definitely will be passing it forward to the moco team. And that's true whether or not you guys agree with me or you disagree with me. Like, genuinely, just let me know what your thoughts are. For now though, this is KairosTime ticking by, and hopefully someday we will see you again in moco. It might be a few months before I make another moco video, but I'll make one someday, eventually.